Good morning, students. Welcome back again. Right? Yesterday we had discussed three topics, that is WTO, the objectives and functions of WTO. The second concept that we discussed was impact on Indian economy, and the third concept that we discussed was sustainable development. These were the three concepts that we have discussed yesterday. Today we are going to discuss the last two topics of this chapter, that is strategies that should be adopted for conservation and preservation of natural resources, and the second concept that we are going to discuss is steps taken to protect the environment. These are the two last topics of your chapter that we are going to discuss today. Right? Take out your textbook, page number 131. Strategies which are adopted for the conservation and preservation of natural resources. Right? As we know that the natural resources are always limited in nature. Right? So it is very much important to conserve and protect those natural resources. For example, water, one of the best examples of natural resources. Water is not a man-made resource. Water is not a man-made resource. That is a kind of natural resources. Forest, a kind of natural resources that we need to preserve, or else there would be, an imbalance in the environment. So there are many things in the terms of natural resources that we need to conserve and preserve. Right? There are 5 points given on this textbook. Look into the textbook what it says. The renewable natural resources like cultivable farm, forest, water resources, etc. should be used in such a way that their quality is maintained, and non-renewable natural resources like coal, petrol, minerals, etc. should be used judicially. All these renewable and non-renewable resources should be used properly. We should make the maximum use or maximum utilization of these resources at the extent level. If we waste these resources, the next generations, that is what we have seen in this concept, right? They are obviously going to face problems. So it is very important to use the resources at proper level, right? As they are natural resources, may be renewable or non-renewable, right? Second, industrial locations should be decided, right, on the basis of lesser transportation cost. A sincere attempt should be made to achieve eco-friendly development. Industrial area, that is again an important concept to preserve the environment, right? We are seeing that the industrial area that is always outside the district or in the corner of the city, which does not affect the environment. As there is going to be more noise, as there is going to be more pollution, right, it is going to affect the environment extremely. Right? We can see in our district only the GIDC area, right, that is outside Surendranagar. They are never allowed to do the business or to do the industrial activities in the center of the city. There are few industries, right, but as they were established at the earlier stage, that place was out of that area at that point of time, right? So these are the things that we need to take care in the terms of preserving the environment. That is point number 2. Point number 3, those resources which can be used in more than one way should be utilized in different ways, such as different irrigation systems are utilized for more than one purposes. Look at the example. Producing electricity, flood control, transportation, etc. Transportation, there are many kinds of transportation, maybe through train, maybe through bus, that is vehicles, maybe through flights, right? Different resources or modes of transportations are there. Whichever is the cheaper one, we should use at the maximum level. We should use at the maximum level so that the natural resources will be preserved, right? And the wastage of resources would not be done. We need to act very smart. We need to understand the environment. We need to create a sustainable development so that the future generations will also fulfill their own needs, right? So if we do not preserve the environment today, it is going to affect the next generation, right? Next, point number 4, natural resources should not be wasted. As simple as that. Control should be laid on an unplanned disposal of industrial waste, poisonous chemicals, increasing slums, etc. Right? A proper controlling system that should be implemented on the industrial waste that is coming out of the industries, which might be hazardous, which might be poisonous. Right? Proper implementation systems should be developed so that the environment will be preserved. If those poisonous chemicals coming out of the industry in the terms of pollution, if they are mixed in water, it is very difficult to take out those hazardous chemicals out of the water. We can take it out, but it would create a lot of expense for the government. And what happens? Our economic development imbalances. If we constantly increase those kind of expenses, right, which are actually not required, and those expenses are created because of the laziness of ourselves, right? We need to be very attentive in the terms of this, and proper controlling systems should be developed, right? And the last point, point number 5, stress should be laid on use of non-conventional energy resources such as solar and wind energy. Those kind of energies should be more encouraged, right, to use those kind of energy, that is the solar energy and the wind energy, so that we can save a certain part of electricity, and that electricity would be available to those people who are in much more need than ourselves. This is how we can balance the environment. This is how we can give the resources to the people who are in actual need of, right? We need to understand it, and then we need to use this kind of resources. So these are the steps that are, or you can say the strategies that are adopted for the conservation of environment. Conservations of environment or the natural resources. I hope all the 5 points are clear, right? Moving towards the last topic, that is the steps taken to protect the environment. What are the different steps that are taken, right, to protect or to conserve the environment? There are again 5 points, right? Let us discuss what it says. For the first time, Earth Conference was organized in 1972 at Stockholm in Sweden. Thereafter, from time to time, convention and camps have been organized for protection of environment at the global level, right? Earth Conference, that means to protect the earth, to protect the environment. A conference that was held in Sweden, that is in 1972, to protect the environment, right? And then after, they constantly met at regular intervals to save the environment, right? And the camps have been organized for protection of environment at the global level, in which it was decided to take different steps for environmental protections. India is also involved in this global efforts. Government is also making different efforts at national level right? India is also a part of this global effort, and governments at the national level are also making or are also contributing in different efforts to preserve the environment. As each and every state has different nature, different environment, different season, India is a country where we find all the kinds of three seasons at one point of time. Right? If you go to north of India, there will be always a winter. If you go down south, you find summer. Sorry, you find monsoon. If you go to the dry places, that is Gujarat and Rajasthan, you find summer. Right? If you go to Mumbai, Maharashtra, you find a balanced environment. Neither too hot, neither too cold. Every state has a different environment. So even at the national level, each state is trying to protect environment in their own way. Right? There are again 5 points given for the steps to protect the environment. Point number 1. Information about pollution condition of different cities of nation is presented. Right? Every 6 months or every year, what amount of pollution is created, right, in each state, that is to be informed at the central level. Delhi is at the first place in the terms of pollution. Alright. Second point. Central and state pollution control boards have been established to control pollution at the state level and even at the central level. Different boards have been established to control the pollution activity so that the environment can be preserved. Third point, 5th June has been declared as Environmental Day in the world, right? Not at India level, that is at the national level, but at the international level. 5th June is declared as an Environmental Day. Point number 4. In India, government passed Air Pollution Control Act in 1981, right? You are only allowed, to create such kind of pollution maybe up to 2%, or just as an example, maybe up to 5%. If your pollution goes more than that amount of percentage, you will be fined. Different laws were being established, that is in the terms of Air Pollution Control Act in the year 1981, right? Point number 5, and the last point. International agreements have been signed for deteriorating level of ozone, disposal of nuclear waste, and maintenance of biodiversity, right? Agreements have been signed by different countries so that the level of this ozone layer can be maintained, right? If the ozone layer is not maintained at the higher level of the environment, right, the ultraviolet rays will directly enter from particular sun to our country or to our state or to our particular planet, and that would be very harmful for the humans. If we don't preserve the environment is not going to protect us, right? The things that we are surviving today, right, the most important things, that is the food grains, that is a part of environment, a natural resource. We just plug it, we just plant it, but it develops because of the proper environment. Just imagine, those environment is not available, how we are going to survive? The farmers that are using the things, the chemicals, the fertilizers in the terms of agriculture production or agriculture activities, that is just the 50% of the work that they are doing. The remaining 50% of the work is done by the environment. If proper environment is not available, we are never going to develop in the terms of agriculture sector, and that would bring a scarcity in the terms of food grains, and it affects the other sectors also. So it is very much important to preserve this kind of ozone layers, this kind of environments, so that we may satisfy our needs, we may satisfy our basic needs. So these are the 5 steps taken by the government at the national level or at the international level to protect the environment as well as natural resources, right? And the last, thus conservation of environment is everyone's responsibility. If we do not control pollution, no doubt the life on the earth will be doomed soon. That would be the end of the earth. Alright, as environment has its own limits, then even the environment starts to reply, maybe in the form of earthquake, maybe in the form of flood, different calamities, right? And no humans can do anything about it. This is what the environment replies to us. So we need to preserve and protect the environment. It is our responsibility also. Plant more trees at your home, in your society. That would be one of the best way to protect the environment or to control the temperature that we have in summer, right? So these are the activities that we need to take care to protect the environment. It is our moral responsibility, right? I hope the concept is clear. Today we discussed 2 topics. First, that is strategies that should be adopted for the conservation of natural resources that may be renewable or non-renewable, and the second that we discussed is what are the steps that are to be taken for the preserve or conservation of environment, right? I hope both the concepts are clear, right? Again, when you watch the video, please keep your textbook with you and try to read each and every paragraph as we are discussing or we are moving towards the video, right? As we are going ahead, please keep your textbook with you and read it twice so that it would be easy to understand the chapters as well as topic, right? Please make a note of these 2 concepts. I hope the whole chapter, that is chapter number 16, is clear. That is all about liberalization, globalization, privatizations, sustainable development, WTO, impacts on Indian economy, steps to protect environment. These are the different concepts that we have discussed. I hope the chapter is clear. Please make a note of it. Thank you.